Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time, we're going to be looking at how organizations protect their data, specifically in the age of cloud computing and AI and all these increasingly strict regulations that are popping up.
Yeah.
We're going through a training document for Microsoft Purview, which is a tool designed for data lifecycle and compliance. Now, I know training documents can be a bit dry, but trust me, this one is packed with insights that impact all of us.
I think with all the news about data breaches and privacy concerns, this is definitely an area that's becoming more and more important.
For sure.
You know, we're generating more data than ever before.
Right.
So knowing how it's protected or not is, important for everyone.
It is. I mean, when was the last time you actually read a privacy policy?
Oh, yeah.
Like we just click agree and move on.
Right.
But for this deep dive, let's zoom in on some key concepts from this Microsoft Purview document.
Okay. Starting with data loss prevention, or DLP.
Right.
It sounds pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But what does it actually mean in practice?
So DLP is all about preventing sensitive information from leaving an organization's control.
Okay.
Whether it's intentional or accidental.
Gotcha.
So it's like having a security guard for your data.
Oh.
So for example, let's say an employee accidentally tries to email a spreadsheet with, thousands of customer credit card numbers.
Oh, that's like a nightmare scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with DLP policies in place,
Yeah.
the system can actually detect that sensitive data
Okay.
and block the email from going out.
Wow.
It's like having a safety net to prevent those oh no moments.
So it's not just about external hackers.
Yeah.
It's about internal mistakes too.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, this document focuses on Microsoft Purview.
Right.
So how does that fit into this DLP picture?
So think of Purview as like a command center for data protection.
It can manage data across a ton of Microsoft services.
Okay.
Like SharePoint, OneDrive, and even Teams.
Wow. So it's not just limited to like email or specific files.
No.
It can monitor data moving around in all these different platforms.
That's right.
That's pretty amazing.
And it integrates with things like, Microsoft Defender.
Right.
Which protects your devices themselves. So it's kind of covering both the cloud and your physical hardware.
It's very comprehensive.
Yeah.
Let's dig a little deeper into those DLP policies.
Okay.
What kind of control do they actually give organizations?
They're incredibly flexible.
Okay.
You can tailor them to specific locations,
Okay.
like only applying certain rules to Teams chats or only to emails sent outside the company.
Okay.
You can even get very specific with the actions taken.
Okay. So let's say I'm an employee
Yeah.
and I accidentally try to email a client list to my personal account. What could happen?
Well, the system could detect that sensitive data in that client list. And instead of blocking the email entirely,
Right.
it could just alert you and your manager.
Oh.
Or it could replace the actual data with like something generic
Okay.
while still letting the email go through.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. So that way the flow of communication isn't interrupted,
Right.
but the sensitive information is still protected.
So there's options.
Yes.
Like blocking, alerting, modifying.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
It's like a smart filter that adapts to the situation.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
The document also talks about retention policies.
Right.
I have a vague idea of what those are.
Okay.
But can you break it down for us?
Yeah. So retention policies determine how long data is kept and how it's ultimately disposed of.
Okay.
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because you have different types of policies.
Okay.
So you have static policies that have fixed rules,
Okay.
like keeping all financial records for 7 years.
Right.
But then you have adaptive policies, which are more dynamic
Okay.
and can change based on things like the type of document
Right.
or even the employee's department.
So adaptive policies sound incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But I imagine they could also get pretty complex to manage.
Yeah.
How do organizations keep track of all this?
Right.
And make sure the right policies are being applied correctly?
So that's where file plans come in.
File plans.
Yeah. Think of them as like blueprints for managing different types of data.
Okay.
They define categories like financial records or customer data
Right.
and outline how each category should be handled
Okay.
throughout its life cycle.
So it's not just chucking everything into a giant digital warehouse
Right.
and hoping for the best?
No, not at all.
Okay.
A well-designed file plan brings order to the chaos.
Okay.
And it ensures that everyone in the organization is handling data consistently,
Right.
which is incredibly important for compliance audits and legal purposes.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But how does this file plan actually translate into action? So, like, let's say I'm an employee.
Yeah.
dealing with a sensitive financial document. How do I know what to do with it?
That's where retention labels come in.
Retention labels.
Yeah, think of them as like smart tags that are linked to the rules defined in the file plan.
Okay.
These labels can be applied manually by users, but ideally the system can automatically apply them.
Oh, wow.
Based on the content of the document or other criteria.
So the system could detect that my financial document contains certain keywords or sensitive information types.
Exactly.
Okay.
And automatically apply a label that says, keep this for 7 years, and then securely delete it.
Okay.
That automation is key.
Yeah.
Because it takes the guesswork out of data retention.
Right.
It ensures consistency across the organization.
Right.
And reduces the risk of human error.
Which, let's face it, is probably a huge factor in a lot of this.
Absolutely. It's a major factor in data breaches and compliance failures.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like Microsoft Purview really is like this comprehensive tool.
Yes. For managing data throughout its entire life cycle. Not just about preventing data loss, but also about managing what stays within the organization.
Right. It's a holistic approach to data governance.
And this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
We've only scratched the surface of DLP and retention policies.
Right.
Next, we'll explore how these concepts translate to protecting data on your devices.
Okay.
Those laptops and smartphones we all rely on. It gets even more interesting from here.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Okay.
Welcome back to our deep dive into data protection.
Yeah.
In part 1, we explored how tools like Microsoft Purview can help organizations prevent data loss and manage retention. But what about all those devices we use every day?
Yeah.
Our laptops, our phones, tablets.
Right.
They're practically extensions of ourselves these days.
They are.
And they hold so much sensitive information.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So,
endpoints, as they're called in the tech world.
Endpoints are often the weakest link in an organization's security.
Really?
Think about it. They're portable.
Right.
Easily lost or stolen.
Yeah.
And constantly connecting to different networks.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
So
how does Purview handle the challenge of protecting data on these endpoints?
Yeah, right.
Is it even possible to control what happens on a device that's not physically in the office?
It is, and that's where Endpoint DLP comes in.
Endpoint DLP.
Purview can actually extend its protection to devices.
Okay.
By using an agent that's installed on each one.
Oh, okay.
This agent acts like a mini version of Purview, monitoring activity and enforcing policies directly on the device.
So even if I'm working from a coffee shop on my laptop, Purview is still watching over my shoulder, so to speak.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
The agent can enforce policies like preventing sensitive data from being copied to a USB drive.
Okay.
Or printed to an unsecured printer.
Right.
It can even block certain Bluetooth connections if those are deemed risky.
That's pretty impressive. It's like having those DLP policies we discussed earlier, but applied at a much more granular level.
Exactly.
Directly to the device. Does this agent work even if the device isn't connected to the company's network?
That's a great question.
Like, what if I'm on a plane or working offline?
And it highlights a key consideration with Endpoint DLP.
Okay.
The Purview agent primarily works when the device is online and connected to the organization's network.
Okay.
When a device is offline, the agent can't communicate with Purview and enforce those policies in real time.
So there are limitations.
Yeah.
It's not a foolproof solution for every scenario.
Right.
What happens in those cases where a device is frequently offline? Do organizations just have to cross their fingers and hope for the best?
Not exactly.
Okay.
There are other security measures that come into play.
Okay.
Things like device encryption, which scrambles the data on the device.
Right.
So it's unreadable without the proper key.
Okay.
And strong password policies. These measures help protect the data, even if the device is lost or stolen.
It's like having multiple layers of defense.
Exactly.
You have the Purview agent working when the device is online.
Right.
And then you have these other measures providing protection even when it's offline. Now, the training document also mentions something about integration with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint.
Yes.
How does that fit into this whole endpoint protection puzzle?
So this integration is where things get really exciting.
Okay.
Defender for Endpoint is Microsoft's comprehensive security solution for devices.
Okay.
Think of it as an advanced antivirus and threat detection system.
Okay.
That's constantly monitoring for suspicious activity.
So it's not just about preventing data loss.
Right.
It's about proactively identifying and responding to threats that could lead to a breach in the first place?
Precisely.
Okay.
And when you combine Purview with Defender for Endpoint,
Yeah.
you get this synergistic effect.
Okay, I like it.
Imagine this Defender detects that your device is trying to access a website known for phishing attacks.
Okay.
It flags this as suspicious activity and immediately alerts Purview.
And then Purview can step in and say,
Yeah.
hold on a second, this device might be compromised.
Exactly.
Let's increase the security restrictions and prevent any sensitive data from leaving.
Right.
Until we're sure everything is safe.
Exactly. It's like having a security system that gets smarter and more responsive the more it learns.
Yeah.
The two systems work together to provide a much more robust level of protection than either could achieve alone.
This is fascinating stuff. It's like a digital immune system for your data.
I like that.
Constantly adapting and responding to new threats.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about the human element in all of this.
Oh, of course not.
We can have all the technology in the world,
Right.
but if people aren't careful,
Yeah.
mistakes can still happen.
You're absolutely right. Technology is only part of the solution.
Right.
User education and awareness are crucial. People need to understand the importance of data protection,
Yeah.
the risks involved,
Right.
and how even small actions can have big consequences.
It's about creating a culture of security
Exactly.
where everyone understands their role in protecting sensitive information.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to a point mentioned in the training document.
Yeah.
The ability to assign specific roles and permissions within Purview for managing Endpoint DLP.
Yes, this is all about controlling who has access to what.
Okay.
Not everyone in an organization needs the ability to create or modify DLP policies.
Right.
Purview allows you to delegate specific responsibilities, ensuring that only authorized personnel can make changes to these sensitive settings.
So you might have a security administrator with full control over DLP policies.
Right.
But a help desk technician might only have permission to view activity logs.
Exactly.
Or assist users with basic troubleshooting.
Mm-hmm.
This way you limit the potential for accidental changes
Right.
or misuse of the system.
It's all about finding that balance between security and operational efficiency.
For sure, we've covered a lot of ground on endpoint data protection.
We have.
From agent deployment to integration with a Defender for Endpoint.
Right.
And even user roles and permissions.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear that Microsoft Purview offers a comprehensive set of tools
You thought.
for safeguarding data on devices.
Yeah.
But we're not done yet.
No.
In part 3 of our deep dive,
Go ahead.
we'll explore another critical aspect of data governance,
Right.
record management.
Okay.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive.
Yes.
We've talked about preventing data loss, protecting it on devices,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a whole other side to this, isn't there?
Yes.
What happens to the data that an organization keeps? How do they manage it all?
Right.
So it doesn't become this massive disorganized mess.
Right. That's where record management comes in.
Record management.
It's the art and science of handling information throughout its entire life cycle, from the moment it's created to when it's finally deleted.
It's kind of the whole shebang.
Exactly.
Okay.
It might sound boring,
Yeah.
but it's crucial for organizations to stay compliant with regulations,
Right.
protect sensitive information, and even just operate efficiently.
Okay. I can see how that would get overwhelming fast,
Oh, yeah.
especially for big companies
Right.
dealing with mountains of data.
Tons of it.
The training document we're looking at today focuses on a feature in Microsoft Purview
Right.
called file plans.
Mm.
What are those?
Okay, so imagine a file plan as a detailed blueprint for an organization's data.
Okay.
It lays out the types of records they create,
Okay.
how they're categorized,
Right.
how long they need to be kept,
Right.
and even the proper way to dispose of them.
Wow. So it's not just chucking everything into a giant digital warehouse and hoping for the best?
Definitely not.
Okay, good.
A well-designed file plan brings order to the
Yeah.
chaos, and it ensures that everyone in the organization is handling data consistently,
Right.
which is incredibly important for compliance audits and legal purposes.
Makes sense. But how does this file plan actually translate into action?
Right.
So let's say I'm an employee
Yeah.
dealing with a sensitive financial document.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know what to do with it?
That's where retention labels come into play.
Retention labels.
Think of them as smart tags
Okay.
that are linked to the rules defined in the file plan.
Okay.
These labels can be applied manually by users,
Uh-huh.
but ideally the system can automatically apply them
Automatically.
based on the content of the document or other criteria.
So the system could detect that my financial document contains certain keywords.
Exactly, or sensitive information types. And then automatically slap on a label that says, keep this for 7 years, then securely delete it.
Wow, that's really smart.
That automation is key.
Yeah.
Because it takes the guesswork out of data retention.
For sure.
It ensures consistency across the organization.
Right.
And it reduces the risk of human error.
Which is a big one.
Which is a major factor in many data breaches and compliance failures.
Yeah. Okay, so the training document mentions 2 ways to publish these retention labels.
Right.
Manual and auto-apply. Is there a preference for one over the other?
It really depends on the specific scenario.
Okay.
And the organization's level of comfort with automation.
Okay.
Manual publishing gives users more control. They can choose when and where to apply labels.
Right.
But auto-apply takes the burden off of users. And relies on the system to do the heavy lifting.
So for like highly sensitive data,
right,
auto-apply might be the best choice.
Exactly, to ensure consistent labeling.
Okay.
And reduce the risk of something slipping through the cracks.
Makes sense. It's all about finding the right balance between automation and user control.
Exactly.
Now, the document gets into some pretty nitty-gritty details.
It does.
About how retention labels work in different Microsoft applications, like Outlook, SharePoint, and OneDrive.
Right.
Can you give us the highlights?
Sure. So in Outlook,
yeah,
you can apply retention labels to individual emails or even entire folders, ensuring that important communications are retained appropriately.
In SharePoint and OneDrive.
In SharePoint and OneDrive, you can apply labels to individual files or entire document libraries. So imagine you have a SharePoint library dedicated to financial records.
Right.
You could apply a retention label that automatically ensures those documents are kept for the required 7 years.
Right.
And then properly disposed of according to the company's policies.
It streamlines the whole process and reduces the chance of someone accidentally deleting something they shouldn't.
Right.
Or keeping something longer than they need to.
Exactly. It's all about creating a system that's both secure and efficient.
This has been a really interesting deep dive.
It has.
We started with the basics of data loss prevention.
Right.
Explored how to protect data on endpoints. And now we've seen how organizations can manage data throughout its entire life cycle with tools like Microsoft Purview.
It's a lot to cover.
It's clear that data governance isn't just an IT issue. It's something that impacts all of us.
Absolutely. The amount of data we generate is only going to increase.
Yeah.
So understanding these concepts is essential for everyone, not just tech professionals.
Well said. And for our listeners, I encourage you to take a moment to think about your own digital footprint. What kind of data do you generate every day? Where is it stored? How confident are you that it's being protected?
That's a great question.
These are all questions worth pondering as we navigate the ever-evolving landscape of the digital world.
For sure.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
This is good.